Well, hello everybody. This is going to be a pretty short video again, but I just want to go over a few things with you. So, where we are is I've removed all the transistors out of the amplifier. You'll see there's one there, and you'll see those half moons all the way through. And I had a really good suggestion from my good friend John in Arkansas about when I talk about these things I should show you the schematic, and I think that's an excellent suggestion. So you'll see here in the guitar section, this is the preamp. I've taken out Q1, Q2, Q3. In the bass preamp, I've taken out Q4, Q5, and Q6. In the microphone preamp, I've taken out 7 and 8. As we go over to the power amplifier, I've taken out Q10 and Q11. If we go to the reverb section, I've taken out Q17 and Q18. And then in the tremolo section, I've taken out Q19, Q20, and Q21. Okay? Now, I didn't take out Q13, Q15, Q14, or Q16 because that's these. Okay? And we've already replaced those. We know they work. We're not going to touch those. And we've already fixed these. So we're not going to touch these. So, now that we've taken them all out, I've ordered new ones, and I made sure I got the right ones this time. And now, as I told you in the last video, that was a lesson learned for me. But I also learned something else too, is that when you are working on these transistor amplifiers, it's almost like, you know, when you're working on antique radios, you have to have a tube tester to know if your tubes are good. There's ways to do it with a voltmeter, but it just doesn't work. So, I want to show you what I've got here. So this is an Atlas DCA Pro. And I've done some research on the right way to check transistors. And this unit got the best ratings that I was able to find. And I'll explain to you why in a second. So, just for kicks, let's take a transistor. This is one of the transistors that I removed out of the unit. And it's got a Heathkit part number, which is a 41791, which I believe is an, let's see, it's a X29A, I believe it is. So to test it on this thing, normally you would have to know which is the emitter, which is the collector, which is the base. Well, that's what makes this particular testing unit tool pretty good. So let me see if I can hold this with the other hand. So all you have to do on this is insert any lead anywhere you want. So we're going to put the blue one here. Let's see if I can get this to focus. I'm going to put the green one on this leg. And we're going to put the red one here. Okay? So I just put that in any order that I wanted. And with this tester, you don't need to know what the pins are because it'll tell you when you turn it on. So let's do a test. You'll see it comes on. And it's telling me that it's an NPN silicon BJT transistor. It's telling me that red is base, green is the collector, and blue is the emitter. And it tells me that the HFE, which you'll see there, is 395. And of course I had to do some research and figure out what that meant. But the HFE is really the current gain. So it's the current gain and really tells you the ratio of the current collector less the leakage to the base. So that's what it's telling you. Now, if this was a bad component, it would display something different. And I'll show you one of those because I have one of those. So let's take this component out. Okay, we'll put this one aside. Let's try this one. And this is a, let's see what we got here. This is a 2N3391. Okay, so we're going to connect this thing up. There's one. There's two. And there's three. Okay, everything's all connected. Let's test it now. Two diode junction. What's up with that? Let's hit the scroll button. it says that the common anode, red is the anode, and green is the cathode. But wait, this is a transistor, I thought. So look at this, it's only showing you the red and the green. It doesn't pick up this blue connector. Let's make sure I've got this right. Let's make sure it's connected cleanly. Okay, just connected it again. Let's hit test. Well, well, well. What do we have here? A bad transistor. Check that out. Now, those of you that know what a transistor is, it's really a collection of diodes, right? So really what this is saying is that it's only picking up one side, and it's actually picking it up as a zener. So this came out of the unit when I removed it from the board. So I know for a fact that this transistor was bad that I took out, okay? And the reason why it was bad, there's a couple of reasons. There were some bad voltages flying around there, and you know, it probably got zapped on one end. So we know that this is a bad one. This tester told me that in like 10 seconds. Now I want to show you what else this thing can do. This is a diode, all right? When I first got the unit, these are the first diodes that I removed, and I'll show you on the schematic where they are in 1 second. So we're going to connect this up. Okay, there's our diode. Let's hit test. Red and green leads are shorted. Oh yeah, that's true. I was able to figure that out with a voltmeter. But just to make sure, let's connect the other one, because there was a pair of these things. Let's check it out. So we're going to take this lead off of here. We're going to put it on here, like so. And we're going to take this one off and put it right there. Okay, there's the other transistor, the mating transistor for this one. Okay, and let's test it. It's a zener diode, that's correct. It says that red is the anode, green is the cathode. Looks like it's 4.18 volts at 5 milliamps. It's actually rated at 4.7, but that's okay. And it tells me some statistics. Now let me show you on the schematic where those transistors are so you know what I'm talking about. So the transistors that I'm talking about are right here. Now if you remember, this that's D301 and 302. If you remember, early on in the series, I was asking questions about these. There were zener diodes. I didn't know exactly what they were when I first got it, but those are the ones that I've just tested. They were bad initially when I first got the amp. Now, if you recall from the previous video, we know that we had a short on Q15, which is right here. Okay, we showed that in the last video. So I would imagine that it probably did something to this diode, right? So it's all starting to make sense now. So I had a bad diode here, probably from this. When that went bad, it probably caused this 40410 and this 40409 driver to go bad. So I kind of had a cascade effect. And if you remember the very first video, this 100 ohm resistor was burnt beyond recognition. Again, look what it's connected to. Okay? So we're starting to piece together the story. So I wanted to show you that. But back to this tester. A couple of other things I want to show you about it just before we wrap up here. You can actually connect this to a computer. And when you connect it to a computer, it'll give you a graphical interface on the screen that you can actually manipulate. You can do curve tracing with it. It does a really, really nice job. For me, what I'm planning on doing with it is when I get my new transistors in, I'm going to check them all before I insert them in the board. My friend John will always tell you that. Test it before you put it in. And I'm going to make sure that it works, that they all work. And then I'm going to go ahead and install them. And I think I'm going to end up having a working amp when I'm done here. So that's basically where we are. I wanted to just show you this piece of test equipment. If you work with transistors, this is the best thing that I found. Now, I'm going to be really honest. I bought this about a month ago on Amazon. It was 20 bucks. It was a build-it-yourself transistor diode tester. And yeah, it works, but it didn't work enough for me to know what it was talking about. So with this one, when you connect a transistor, matter of fact, let's connect the transistor that that we know is bad. Okay. So let me see if I can get this connected with the camera here. So on this particular transistor, we know that the first pin is the emitter. See, on this one you have to know what they are. And we know that the collector is in the center. And I'll show you how I know that. See that designator right there? Emitter, collector, base. Okay. So we'll put the collector in the center. This is tricky to do with one hand. Okay. Sorry, that's the base. Base is yellow. And then we're going to connect the collector in the center, right there. Okay? And this red one's not being used. So now we've got it connected. So we're going to put this on transistor, and we believe it's an NPN. We don't really know. And we're going to hit the test button. And you'll see that the OK light just blinks for a second. See that? If I turn this voltage knob, you'll see that the NPN light comes on. So, that basically means that one side of this is working, but the OK light should stay lit. If this was a good transistor, that OK light would be lit when I back the voltage off from about 85. But it just blinks and goes out. So I know that the transistor is bad, but this does a much better job of telling me, who's basically a beginner when it comes to transistors, what's happening. And yeah, it's a little more money than this one was, but, if you're going to do a hobby, you should be doing it the right way, and you have to have the right tools. So that's where I am. I hope this was helpful. If anybody is thinking about getting a transistor tester, I would highly recommend this one. This one for me is perfect because like I said, I'm new to this stuff, and it will recognize almost every component automatically without having to do anything. Matter of fact, I have a list in here of what it can recognize, and it can recognize bipolar transistors, Darlingtons, enhanced mode depletion mode MOSFETs, junction FETs, triacs, thyristors, LEDs, tricolor LEDs, bicolor LEDs, Zener diodes, voltage regulators, and diode networks. The only trick with this thing is they can't be in circuit. They tell you that you need to detach it from the circuit before you test it, which is fair. Most testers are like that, so it's nothing unusual here. So anyway, that's the Atlas DCA Pro, and my transistors that I ordered to fix this amp will be here tomorrow, and I will be very busy doing two things. One is testing them to make sure they work, and two, making sure that I know what the legs of the transistors are and that they actually fit the pattern of this particular board, which is emitter, collector, base. Every one of them is like that. It starts with the emitter, the collector, and the base. And if you watched my previous video, you'll know that I used an NTE 159, which had a different configuration, and that's what caused me some issues. So I am learning, and hopefully you are too. I'll see you when I start to put some of these transistors in. All right? This is Ron. Thanks for watching.